Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Just ahead of Farhan Lalji, one of our two guests of the day. Donnie and Dolly presented by Able Auctions. Able Auctions services businesses throughout BC looking to liquidate their assets. Don't miss upcoming auctions including a high-end fitness club in Port Alberni, shaker machines available, we're hearing, and industrial equipment and vehicles in Quesnel. If you are a business owner anywhere in BC looking to liquidate assets, I got to get that visual out of my head.
Yeah, you
looking
sure
to
do.
liquidate assets, email sales@ableauctions.ca. Here's a visual I want to see. Farhan Lalji, TSN. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I think I might take Abel up on that offer to go get some exercise equipment. I figure I need it now.
Okay,
oh boy, do you ever.
Take it easy. We've got a piece of equipment for you, Farhan. We might get to that later. But Oilers
right.
over the Canucks 3-2 in a shootout. What was your takeaway?
Well, a lot of takeaways. First of all, I was impressed with the Canucks' resiliency and ability to come back in the second. You know, Oilers are a tough team to prevent from getting that third, if you know what I mean, right? I mean, when you push too hard, they've got some pretty dynamic players that can make you pay the other way. So I like that. There were some things that were a real positive. You know, I certainly liked the play of Vancouver's defense. You know, a big question around the defense, regardless of the pair going into the year. I thought Ekman-Larsson did a pretty good job with Tyler Myers. You know, I expected to see Myers underwater a bit more. I thought he played well. I thought even the third pair of Rathbone and Burrows, I was surprised to see them draw in. I think it makes a lot of sense that they did draw in because of the speed that they possess versus maybe a Hunt-Shen combination when you're playing a team like the Oilers. So I thought that looked good. Demko, who I thought was okay in the preseason, you know, certainly looked like last year's Demko. So, and even with Pettersson, I thought he was dynamic. I thought he was creative. I still think there's some timing that needs to get sorted out as far as his shot is concerned and just his ability to put the puck in the net. But in terms of his ability to generate, and then, of course, Nils Höglander, who's just always noticeable.
Yeah, I agree. Did you look at Ekman-Larsson last night and say, okay, there's the guy that Jim Benning wanted so badly for the last couple of years?
Well, I think more than anything, I saw the guy that he needed to be, right? I think Benning wants more, right? I think Benning wanted the Ekman-Larsson of 5 years ago, and I certainly didn't see that guy. But I also saw a significant upgrade over what we saw from Ekman-Larsson the last couple of years, right? And that's what the Canucks needed. That was the bottom line minimum. So I think that they're there, and hopefully he can work his way up from there, as opposed to that just not being a bit of adrenaline that he eventually works down from. So, you know, it was enough to say, okay, we're in good shape. In terms of him in the top four for now.
You know, Farhan, I think one guy we haven't even talked about who was very big last night was Thatcher Demko. I mean, they're not in a position to come back and tie in the third if he's not that good in the first two. This guy's first run at being the number one goalie, and last night I thought he had a statement game. He was really good.
Yeah, I did. And again, you know, when I watched him in the preseason, if you'd asked me who the Canucks' best goaltender was in the preseason, I would have told you Mike DiPietro, right? And again, not that Demko was bad on any level. He just looked okay. And you could tell that he was really trying to work on getting his timing down, getting his reads down, as opposed to doing everything he could to make a specific save in the preseason. So watching him last night, I thought he was key, especially in the final 10 minutes of that first period when Edmonton really dominated the game and McDavid really got things going. I thought it was important. You know, I thought the only kind of marginal moment for him in that game, because he couldn't do anything about the 2 goals in regulation, but I thought the Turris shootout goal was kind of okay. But look, ultimately that's a shootout and you don't necessarily judge goalies there. I thought he was very good.
Yeah, and let's switch over to football. The BC Lions big game, Saturday, 4 o'clock. BC plays Calgary. Hey, look, you want fans in this city. You want 30, 40,000 back at the Lions. Well, here's something for you. Farhan, start winning at home. The Lions are 1-3 at home. That's a big red flag for me. They got to start winning at home.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, and we've talked about it before where it feels like there are so many statement home games for this club where they don't finally getting some traction. Yeah, and some good things have happened and they don't show up. And look, the storylines around this game are a lot different than they were 2 weeks ago, right? The Lions headed into the bye week off a loss. They look like an offense that's completely not balanced. You lose your most exciting player in Lucky Whitehead, whereas we were talking differently about this team 2 weeks ago, and then now you've got a Calgary team that was reeling, And now they put together back-to-back impressive performances against Saskatchewan and get back into the race, right? So there's a lot at stake from a playoff standpoint, from a home win standpoint, like you say, Rick, and they need to show something, right? I mean, we've seen a move here where they got rid of Shaq Cooper this week, and Butler's going to continue to be the starting running back, but he hasn't necessarily set the world on fire. They need a little bit more in that run game to make the offense a little more viable and not be in second and long all the time.
Fran, you get to travel a lot in your job and cover a lot of events, NFL events. Have you ever had any dealings with John Gruden?
I have, actually, during the NFL playoffs in recent years. And look, he struck me as a decent guy. Certainly nothing there to indicate what we saw in those emails. But, the right thing happened, right? I mean, ultimately, it was the wrong thing that those things ever existed. And we've gone through this in a number of sports, right? I mean, we've seen it in hockey where where coaches treated a player a certain way back in time, and you've still got to be held accountable. And I think ultimately, when you've got those kinds of emails over a 7-year stretch, it indicates a pattern of behavior. Maybe he's changed, I don't know, but 7 years is a long sample size. Some of the things that were in those emails were very, very troubling. I don't know how you take a guy like that, put him back in a locker room, and have him, have to interact with players of color, a player that is, that is openly gay. There's all of those types of things. And from a National Football League standpoint, you want to get away from all of this stuff. So not good. And honestly, look, there's 650,000 or more emails involved in this investigation. Yeah. I don't know that we've heard the last of this, and I'm not talking about Gruden, but there are probably some nervous people around the National Football League.
Fran, I'm going to guess that you, like a lot of us, like a lot of people all over Canada, maybe even all over the globe, certainly in Europe, are an Alphonso Davies fan. Are you a bigger fan after what you saw last night?
I saw the highlights. I didn't see the game. You know me, I'm not necessarily a soccer guy, but I've certainly watched enough of Alphonso Davies on television and up close in person to just be mesmerized by the guy when he plays, and the fact that he's able to have the impact that he's had in one of the top leagues in Europe and just be that exciting to watch. And the fact that it still matters to him to play for Canada. Sometimes when guys get to that level, and so few have, regardless of sport, I mean, obviously not hockey, but we see it in basketball. We've seen it in soccer previously. To get him to just have that level of buy-in for the Canadian national program and to be able to deliver, I think it's fantastic for the sport in this country. And it certainly looks like everything's lined up to see Canada get to a World Cup finally from the last time you and I were teenagers. Well, I was a teenager. You were still probably in the industry.
I was on the verge of retirement in 86. Yeah. Okay, one more. NFL, Tampa Bay at Philadelphia. Just quickly, Farhan, Alex Singleton. We love to talk about ex-CFLers doing special things down in the NFL. What can you tell us about what Alex Singleton is doing for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, just a massive game on the weekend for Singleton, and he now sits third in the NFL in tackling. So the fact that he's been able to do it down there, he's been an underdog, right? I mean, remember, he got released at one point and put on the practice roster. He was at the airport on a flight to come back to Calgary, and basically the GM begged him to stay and said, look, there's going to be an opportunity here for you. And he just gets it, right? And they gave him another deal this year. I think, linebackers, other than Bobby Wagner, they don't all necessarily get paid huge dollars, but this guy is now a mainstay. He is locked into the NFL. He's going to be there long-term for the rest of his career. And every time you give him an opportunity to do more, he takes it, and he doesn't give it back. So just watching what he's done, we'll see what he can do this week against Fournette and Jones. He's not necessarily going to be as involved defending the pass game because a guy like Gronk isn't in there. But I think he's going to have his fingerprints all over this game. I love watching him on a primetime stage. And, I also love the fact that he doesn't forget what the CFL meant to him, a lot like Doug Flutie in that way. And, even after Calgary won the last game, he was tweeting about it, right? Just his guys. So I think that part of it's pretty cool because it matters to him, and it's good for the CFL that he continues to do well.
Farhan, that segment just now made up for what happened last week.
Yeah, so that's right, buddy.
That's right. I owe you guys. I apologize.
Hey, we were thinking about a 5-week suspension. It was on the table.
No, you were thinking of it.
I was hot. I was heavy. Not hot, heavy, but I was hot and heated. Hot and heated.
Thanks, Farhan.
I apologize, guys. I owe you. Hopefully I made up for it today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Farhan. Appreciate it, buddy.